Hello everybody, and welcome to Ancient Architects. The Great Pyramid of Egypt is the ultimate enigma from the ancient world, and to try and understand how it was built, we spend so much time looking at the colossal stonework that we overlook some other important clues, namely the famous solar boat that was discovered practically intact in 1954, buried in a pit at the southern face of the pyramid. Known as the Great Boat of Khufu, due to its proximity to the pyramid that Egyptologists claim is dedicated to him, it occupied one of a number of boat pits found around the pyramid. Due to the state of preservation and the impressive build quality, it is believed by many to have a cultic significance, although opinions vary. Some think the ship sailed the River Nile, and could have even taken the body of the pharaoh from the old capital of Memphis to the Great Pyramid tomb at Giza. But obviously, there is no evidence that the pyramid was a tomb, and its association with Khufu is extremely tenuous, in that there is some obscure graffiti inside the pyramid that is likely to be a hoax created by explorer Colonel Weiss back in the early 19th century. Science has also shown that Khufu could not be responsible for the pyramid, as organic matter found between masonry blocks in a number of locations in the pyramid also point to an average date of around 3000 BC. And error margins within the radiocarbon dating make it likely that the pyramid is either pre- or first dynasty in origin. Many think it is actually far older, and that this organic matter could be from later restoration work. So, if the solar boat was the same age as the Great Pyramid, as Egyptologists say, calling it the Great Boat of Khufu is totally inaccurate, and scientifically it cannot be associated with this pharaoh. Science has even proven this, as the wood itself has been carbon dated using multiple samples and is dated to between 3800 and 2800 BC, with scientists saying the most likely date was around 3400 BC. Yet, Egyptologists conveniently refute this data due to it not falling within their Khufu narrative. So, we have an ancient pyramid and an ancient boat, both pre-dynastic, and although some believe the boat was a later addition to the site, most think they are the same age. Whatever the truth, this find by itself is incredible, and the discovery is extremely fortunate, as the dismantled ship was in perfect condition, having survived more than 5,000 years of history. When discovered, the boat was a gigantic jigsaw puzzle, comprising more than 1,200 pieces, and it took 12 years to restore. It was assembled in a specially made air-conditioned pavilion at the site where it had been discovered. The final product is an incredible achievement. Many researchers have examined it in detail, and one man in particular, Istvan Soros, has noted that this boat was rather out of the ordinary. Its design meant that it would have been insufficient on both rivers and oceans. There was no mast and hence no sails, and there were only positions for 5 pairs of oars, whilst the hull was enormous. There is no way that this boat could travel against the current, but the simple addition of a mast and sail would have rectified this, so why wasn't it added to the design? The solar boat is a real masterpiece in boat construction, and therefore, like the builders of the pyramid, surely nothing was done by accident. It is 140 feet long, perfectly streamlined, and arguably it is even more elegant than the famous ships of the Vikings. It was extremely well built, yet the streamlined hull would have collapsed on its first encounter with the ocean waves. Its long prow produced no elevating power, and one strong wave would tear it apart. Taking all this into account, and putting the radiocarbon dates aside, people say the boat was used only once, to sail with the current of the River Nile to bring Khufu to his resting place. But even this can't be true, as the ropes had chafed furrows, showing that it had been in proper prolonged use, so just what is going on? Istvan Soros, I believe, has the answer. The boat was in use, but it had a very specific function. It was in fact a water crane, specially designed to lift and move objects short distances. Its size and shape allowed it to easily hoist stone blocks of 2 or 3 tons, and, if on open water, the boat could move the blocks into position. Soros has examined the perfect scale model of the vessel displayed in the Great Boat of Khufu Museum at the southern foot of the Great Pyramid in great detail. It can be seen at first sight that the ship is asymmetrically constructed, with the bow stretching out further than the stern, which would have given it the ability to dip and rise approximately 5 metres. it was evident that this was what it was designed to do. As Soros says, we must look at the vessel as a two-armed lever with a variable axis of rotation. As the vessel dipped, it did not sink lower in the water because its hollow interior is shaped so that the identical elevating power is produced, though over a displaced surface of contact. The Great Pyramid boat was made of two basic materials: cedar wood from Lebanon, perfect for shipbuilding, and flax. The rope used can be seen in the boat's museum, and the quality of workmanship is simply outstanding, and they vie with the very best of modern rope production. Some examples of rope have a diameter of 12 or 13 centimetres, and it has been calculated that they could take the strain of several tons. There is no doubt that this was a working boat. Soros believes that it would have floated across the surface of the flooded building site. It would have raised the stones of several tons weight and delivered them to the handling person who placed them. In the modern day, floating cranes are used to build bridges. Bridge sections, which weigh several tons, are assembled on shore, lifted by a floating crane, sailed across to the construction site, and are then positioned, often with millimetre precision. At the Great Pyramid construction site, the stone blocks could have been brought from the Nile via a lock gate system and then moved into position at the construction site by the floating cranes, of which the Great Boat of Khufu was simply one. But, as the pyramid grew larger, how would the construction site have evolved? How did the pyramid fill up with water? Well, I've stated on a number of occasions that I think part of the function of the Great Pyramid was to pump water. A simple but effective ram pump with the subterranean chamber, descending passageway, well shaft and grotto being the component parts. Maybe the pump was purely for construction, to pump water into the site and into the growing pyramid, and not just to build the pyramid, but also the pyramids of Khafre and Menkaure. The reason, therefore, that the two lesser pyramids didn't have an obvious ram pump system built within them was simply because they didn't need them. I would hazard a guess that the pump wasn't just used in its construction, but also after the Great Pyramid's completion. Maybe it was used for irrigation purposes, but also to create the loud, powerful sonic pulse observed by John Cadman in his scale model experiments. I'll discuss the function of the pulse in a future video. So there we have it. The solar boat evidence presented by Soros and his logical interpretation suggests that the boat buried at the foot of the Great Pyramid was a water crane, and due to its burial place, you would think it was used to build the Great Pyramid. Therefore, the boat dating to around 3400 BC may give us the true date of the Great Pyramid's construction, as well as more information regarding how it was built. Alternatively, if you believe that the Great Pyramid is of extreme age, it would mean that the water crane was buried with extreme care and precision at the foot of the structure many years after its construction, for reasons unknown. Some Egyptologists think that Khufu did build the pyramid during his reign of 2589 to 2566 BC, and that he simply buried an 800-year-old boat on its southern side, but this to me doesn't make any sense at all. The most logical explanation for me is that this boat was constructed around 3400 BC, and it was used to help build the pyramid. Maybe the pyramid took hundreds of years to construct, and was finished around 3000 BC, as the carbon dates obtained from organic material found between the pyramid masonry blocks seems to suggest. But, as radiocarbon dating has large error margins, it is safe to assume that both the crane and the pyramid were built around the same time, likely between 3400 and 3000 BC. Istvan Soros has released a fantastic book called Pyramids on Water, Floating Stones, and if you are interested in the subject matter, I would strongly urge you to read it. Even though archaeologists and Egyptologists have excavated countless sites and uncovered an endless array of finds, new interpretations are coming to light all the time. Gone are the days when we are told that everything has a ritual or religious purpose, just because we don't understand it. Independent researchers are now filling in the gaps as we try to get to grips with our ancient history. I believe the new emerging picture of ancient Egypt is that most of the ancient monuments and their associated archaeological finds had a purpose. They show us that the people were intelligent, industrious, and were certainly not wasteful. They didn't build enormous, perfectly crafted boats and precise and seemingly impossible pyramids for a simple funeral. I believe they expended so much energy to create a structure that would benefit the ancient population of Egypt. Maybe the pyramid was built between 3400 and 3000 BC, as radiocarbon dating suggests. Or maybe it is older. But what the Great Boat reinforces is the fact that the ancient architects of Egypt were highly intelligent, and that the ancient boat builders and stonemasons were highly skilled. It also reinforces the point that Pharaoh Khufu had nothing to do with the Great Pyramid, and hopefully one day we can stop flattering this 4th dynasty king with an obviously pre-dynastic masterpiece. Thank you very much for watching this episode of Ancient Architects. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel, please like the video, and please leave a comment below. Thank you very much.